אנחנו נלמד מתוך שיעור תעש עם הרבש,
We will learn
נקרא מתוך תלמוד 10 הספירות,
from
כרך
the
ב',
study of the 10 Sefirot with Rabash,
עמוד
part
310,
5,
דף ש"י, אות כ"ה.
item 25.
היא הנוסעה לראשונה. ומטעמים שקטר
Also, on the first day, and he doesn't mention Keter here, but it's not written. We can just say it.
וגם בטעמים
The
דעה.
rationality tells you that also the 9 Tamim of Ab, there's also a big deficiency for the light of Galgalta.
אבל שהוא אומר, זה נקרא ראשונה.
You can say that it's included in the Yud K.
But that's the first day. But not now when it's obligated. Keter, it obligates. And that belongs to the Vav. And Vav, I can tell you why. Because Vav for Chokhmah, or we could say that in Keter called Amim, that it rides upon the Rachamim, the mercy, it's not called a deficiency.
There should have been the tip, the edge of the Vav as well.
What?
Why is there no edge of the Vav?
He starts from saying the order of the expansion. He says, the order of the expansion is, what did he ask? If I say that the Tamim is called taste, that is called Keter, and the Keter is incorporated in the tip of the letter, the tip of the lights, no lights, it didn't have lights. It's asking if there's part to the goof or we don't mention it. We see that we're only speaking about the tip of the Yud. Tip of the Vav, we don't mention that. Now, there actually are Tamim in Ab, lacking the light of Galgalta. It's lacking. So I can't say that it has a tip. We can say that there's a deficiency. But we can say that since that is the Keter, that it sits in mercy, so there's no apparent deficiency. Also, that in general it's lacking, so you don't even mention it. And actually, there's nothing there. But it's also apparent that there's nothing there. Why isn't there anything there? I'll explain it. Chaim Vital asks a question. Why do you say that by the light departing from Patzuf Galgalta, empty vessels remained? Because afterwards, when Ab comes, again the light appears in the vessel. So then the vessels aren't apparent anymore. So what's the explanation? That since Patzuf Ab came with the light of Chokhmah in an empty vessel, it turns out that in the vessel of Chokhmah, in the vessel of Keter, there is no light of Chokhmah. So a vessel remains a deficiency. So what did he say there? Don't run. In the empty vessel, which is the vessel of Keter, it remained in the deficiency. That deficiency, I can say it's called Hey. That the deficiency that remained after the departure and the next light that came didn't have any change. Only the vessel that remained in Hey.
There's nothing new about that.
It's difficult, but you can say that.
It's difficult that there's nothing new in here, so it's not implied here.
I see what you're saying.
What's the answer? Why isn't no edge of the Yud tip?
I understand what you're saying. I told you the first time and you couldn't hear. Anyway, briefly, I know what you know. So, what did we talk about now? The vessel of Keter that remains without the light of Keter is called Hay. The Tamim that illuminate now what the light extended, there's no apparent deficiency. It didn't extend anymore. But what remained from what was extended, what was deficient from what was extended, meaning the nekudot, that's called Vav. And the Yud Hey, you could say, Yud was incorporated in the Vav, and the Hey is incorporated with the light of Keter from the general departure. So the tip means that there is no deficiency, or there is. In Vav, there's more of a deficiency. If we connect what's lacking from Partzuf Galgalta, there's more of a deficiency. In Vav, there is more deficiency than what was lacking in Partzuf Galgalta. It has a greater deficiency. And in addition to that, there's also the Yud. Every expansion, beginning with the expansion, the end of the expansion, that's what he's saying. What's the difference between the Yud of Havaya to Vav of Havaya? In Yud, there still is no expansion. That's why the Yud that is in the Hey is called a small Vav. It hints about Zer Anpin in Bina. After Zer Anpin comes out, it expands more, and then it's called Vav. If we discuss the expansion here on the deficiency, so there is more of it. Even in Chokhmah, there wasn't any. There was Keter, and it's not so severe. Here, the Tamim of Chokhmah are lacking too. That's why there's more of a deficiency. The 9 Sefirot will be regarded as lacking that light. 25. In the second expansion, this deficiency will also be in the 9 Sefirot once more, and not in the Keter. Hence, there are. He says this: before there was light, no fulfillment, a deficiency. But when Keter comes and then Keter departs, so afterwards, the 9 Sefirot will be regarded as lacking that light, as the light of Keter preceded them. And that light was lacking. Let's see below inner light. The 9 Sefirot will be regarded as lacking that light. As the light of Keter preceded them, this means that the matter of the deficiency in them is only compared to the light of Keter that preceded them in its merit. Compared to it, they are regarded as reflected light and judgment, although in themselves, the light, they are mercy. Why? Because it's the abundance that comes from above. Since they too, the light of Nekudot, are extended from the emanator from above downward, as the Ari wrote above. It is known that all that is extended from above downward is mercy, but compared to the light of Keter, they are considered judgment. Why? Since they only exist by the departure of its light. However, the 2 phases of the general departure of the first expansion, Galgalta, and the second expansion, Ab, it implied in the 2 letters, Hey, Hey, of the name Havaya. They are a true deficiency in judgment in themselves too, as the Ari says below. Why is there no light there? That's why it's called a true deficiency. We understand from all the above that the Yud in Havaya is the light of Nekudot of the first expansion of Parzuf Galgalta. Meaning, the 9 Sefirot from Chokhmah downward, called Nekudot, that emerged in Galgalta, there during the departure of the light of Ta'amim, called the light of Keter. That's what. The first Hey in the name of Vaya is the general departure of this first expansion, meaning that also the Nekudot departed, and there aren't only empty vessels. That's called Hey, the female, a real deficiency. The Vav in the name Havaya implies the light Nekudot of the second expansion, which are the 9 Sefirot from Chokhmah below that emerged during the departure of the light of Ta'amim during that second expansion. And we learn why it's called Vav, because here there are already more lights. That deficiency also in Yud meaning there is no light of Ab during the expansion of the light of Nekudot. The last Hey in the name of Vaya implies the general departure of the second expansion of Ab. Thus, the 2 expansions of the light of Nekudot, which are man that illuminate light and cause a deficiency, the expansion of Havaya of Yud and Vav are usually called the males of the name Havaya, that the light comes from above. And the 2 departures imply Hey, Hey, the female in the name of Havaya, that it's a true deficiency. There is no light. Only empty vessels remain. He writes in item 23, Yud, Hey, and Keter, and Havaya, in all the other Parzufim, it means that the expansion of the 9 Sefirot from Chokhmah downward that emerged during the departure of the light of Keter of the first expansion. Parzuf Galgalta, and the departure of the light of the first expansion in general is the meaning of the Yud, Hey, and Keter. What is Keter?
What is Keter? Of Parzuf Galgalta. It is called Keter, as it is known that it is Parzuf Keter Avak. He interprets these 2 deficiencies of the light, meaning the departure in relation to Keter, and not in relation to themselves. The phase of its real departure in themselves too. There's also no light of deficiencies is necessarily received inside the second expansion. Also, the phase that is there, the deficiency of all, which are the Ta'amim, both of the Ta'amim and of the Nekudot. Why? He gives another rule. Since all the forces that appear in the upper one must necessarily be in its lower one as well, hence the Yud K of the first expansion, which are missing there, are in the second expansion too, which does not shine there. and he simply doesn't shine there. But he says that a deficiency is apparent there. Hence, these Yud K of the first expansion, what is missing there, are in the second expansion too, which does not shine there. It simply does not shine there, but it says that a deficiency is apparent. Added to them are the two deficiencies of the light with respect to itself, which are the phase of departure in relation to the keter of the second expansion, when the light of abundance was shining, and not in relation to the lower nine themselves. Sefirot, the abundance comes from above. It is also the real collective phase of departure of the second expansion, implied in the Vav K. Thus, in the second expansion, there are all four letters of the name Havaya. It is written Havaya in all the other Patzufim. What are all the Patzufim? Both Patzufim of Te'amim and Patzufim of Nekudot of the second expansion. Not of Sag, only of Ab. This he explains. In all the other Patzufim. Student, from your words it sounds Rabash on the Patzufim of Nekudot. Now, what does he want? Why is it so difficult that he talks about it so much? He says Yud K in Keter, fine. Havaya in the rest of the Patzufim, fine. Afterwards, he explains what is in the rest of the Patzufim. What do you have in Patzuf Tabu? What do you have in Patzuf Ab? There's only Vav. Hey, how is there Havaya? So Yud K in Keter, Vav K in the rest of the Patzufim. So he explains that the deficiency of the upper Patzuf is also in the lower one. In that part, it's Yud K alone. This is called Havaya, meaning, as we say, that there are two deficiencies in Patzuf Galgalta. After the departure, it's felt, meaning that here, four deficiencies are felt. That's the meaning. How come? We'll see later. First of all, what he says. An example. He says in part 8 that the records of all the Patzufim of Nekudim are in Malchut. All the deficiencies of all the vessels in Bia are in Osiyah. What's the benefit of that he says there? This is why the lower one raises man, by which he feels the deficiency of the upper one, corrects the upper one. That's what he says there. Let's see 26. On top, the words of the Ari. We shall explain this matter that is written. That these phases are called, for in Ko, Yud K, is the Lord, Havaya, an everlasting rock. This is the meaning of the verse, extol him that rides upon the skies, whose name is in Ko, Yud K. We must be meticulous with this verse. He should have said his name is Yud K. What is his name is Ko? The thing is that the entire name is contained in the Yud K. And this is the meaning of whose name is in Ko. Yud K in its fullest is Yud, comprised of the letters Yud Vav Dalet. E, comprised of the letters Ab. A Aleph filled with Alping means 26 in Gematria, which is Havaya. Thus, in Yud K, filled with Alphin, is the actual name Havaya, and the name Yud K in Keter indicates how the name Havaya emerged from it, containing all 4 letters of Havaya. What does he want to say here? Let's see what he interprets. Thus, in Yud K is the actual name Havaya, etc. Indicates how the name Havaya emerged from it. This is the meaning of the verse, extol him that rides upon the skies. Aravot in Hebrew. Aravot, skies, implies eruv, mixture, of the quality of mercy with judgment. It begins in the Parsufim of the second expansion, and it says, whose name is in Ko, in Yud K. And Yud Hey implies Keter, where there was still no mixture of the quality of mercy with judgment. We are in inner light of 26. And yet the Havaya of the second expansion was extended from it, and in all the other parts of him, until the world of Atzilut, where in Atzilut, the mixture ends. Of the association of the quality of mercy with judgment. And 10 vessels emerge. This is the whole reason to give a good reward to the righteous, as it is written above. This is the meaning of the verse, extol him that rides upon the skies. Mixed and associated the quality of mercy with judgment, which emerged from the Yud K, is his name in Keter, which is the meaning of expansion and departure. And in that, exalt before him, for in that, all the good reward prepared and concealed for the righteous. What is written here? He explains there, judgment means great coarseness. Mercy, says, is less coarseness. This is why he says that afterwards, when the coarse light comes in the vessels of Galgalta, then the light that comes in the vessels of Galgalta they already change its lesser coarseness. It's a beginning of the association of the quality of mercy with judgment. Afterwards, in the world of Atzilut, because only in vessels of bestowal that were incorporated with vessels of reception, he receives. We do not speak of real vessels of reception. Now we will understand. If I say that Pasuf Ab has deficiencies of Galgalta, I must say so, even though you don't understand. Why? If Chaim Vital asks, when is there a recognition of a vessel? He said, when the light departs. Afterwards, he asks, in Patsuf Ab, the light of Chokhmah comes again, drawing it through the screen and the reflected light. Where the screen and the reflected light he already receives in order to bestow. So again, there is no recognition of a vessel. So he explains that the light of Chokhmah comes in the vessel of Keter. So Ab lacks these vessels, and the vessels of Golgotha move to Ab. So Ab already feels what are empty vessels. If I say that he does not attain the empty vessels, how are there empty vessels there? So you have to say that he felt the Yud K, the lack there. Otherwise, there's no deficiency there. In Sag, I can ask, but in Ab, I cannot ask even so. But he says this, but I was only giving an explanation. According to the explanation he says there, it's a completely different matter, by which the lower one corrects what is missing above.
נעבור לחלק הבא של השיעור.
Let's go to the next part of the lesson.